I was crying out for help.
I needed to go somewhere to get help.
I didn't like myself. I was ashamed.
I was really ashamed to say it at the time.
Sick of hearing about them, but I can't get away from them. They're everywhere, in my face.
Look, Kyle, we just kind of don't care about some dumb prince and his stupid wife.
She says she wants privacy, but somehow ends up on every red carpet, gala stage, and Instagram reel. Meghan Markle's public image is a walking contradiction. And now, even South Park is calling it out. Their viral roast, the worldwide privacy tour, didn't just mock her, it exposed her entire brand. In classic South Park fashion, Meghan and Harry were shredded for their obsession with fame while pretending to run from it. Jam jars, humanitarian awards, designer gowns, and staged vulnerability. It all became part of a savage parody that hit uncomfortably close to home. And here's the twist. Most of the world agreed with it. This wasn't just cartoon humor. It was a mirror held up to a real-life performance that's starting to crack.
We want privacy. We want privacy.
It's the worldwide privacy tour.
We want privacy. We want.
So how did we get here? How did Meghan Markle, once praised as a breath of fresh air for the royal family, become the punchline of a global joke? From a relatable jam-making photo gone wrong, to posing in the same tunnel where Princess Diana died, to front-row awkwardness at Paris Fashion Week. This story isn't about privacy. It's about something much deeper. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the real reason why Meghan Markle went from Duchess to diva to digital disaster. From the very beginning, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made one thing clear. They wanted out. Out of the spotlight, out of the chaos, out of the royal pressure cooker that, according to them, was destroying their peace. They left the UK with headlines screaming, "Just let them live their lives." The world nodded in sympathy, and at first it felt real. Two people walking away from the noise to start fresh. Except they never really walked away. In fact, they walked straight into a bigger spotlight. Within months, there were Netflix deals, podcast interviews, primetime Oprah specials, and a book tour that practically dropped Harry's entire family tree onto the front page. They weren't escaping the spotlight. They were rebuilding it, brick by brick, camera by camera, and yet, with each new appearance, they repeated the same line: "We just want privacy." But how does one claim to want privacy while staging candlelit photos in a $14 million Montecito mansion? How do you fight the tabloids while inviting Netflix to document your daily life? The contradictions weren't subtle, they were blinding. Even supporters started to feel it.
It's like a popcorn. Leave us alone. Down with the monarchy. We deserve our privacy.
Something wasn't adding up, and Meghan, she wasn't retreating. She was rebranding. From royal to activist. From actress to humanitarian, from duchess to content creator. And the further she ran from the crown, the more calculated her public presence became. Nothing felt spontaneous. Everything felt produced. The irony became too loud to ignore. For someone begging the world to look away, she always made sure the cameras had a perfect angle. But the moment that truly shattered the illusion, it didn't come from a press release or a documentary. It came from something much smaller and weirder. A jar of jam. It was supposed to be a quiet, wholesome moment. Meghan Markle, in her sun-drenched Montecito kitchen, proudly holding a jar of homemade jam. No red carpet, no interview, no grand speech. Just jam. Sweet, simple, down to earth. Or so it seemed. The photo was picture perfect. Marble countertops, flawless lighting, designer blouse. Meghan smiling like she just discovered a new purpose in life. The label on the jar read American Riviera Orchard, the name of her lifestyle brand, as if to say, "Look, I'm just like you. I make preserves now." But eagle-eyed viewers caught something hilarious. She was holding the canning tongs upside down. That one tiny mistake turned a staged moment into instant satire. It became the perfect metaphor. Someone preaching mindfulness, perfection, and authenticity, while fumbling the most basic detail. The internet had a field day. Critics roasted her for trying too hard. She probably spent more time setting up the photo than making the jam. One comment joked. Others asked if the jam was even real or just another brand-building prop. It didn't help that everything around her looked like a Vogue shoot, not a single splash, smudge, or sign of actual cooking. It felt more like a luxury ad than a homemade hobby. And just like that, Meghan's attempt to be relatable turned into a meme. She wasn't the Duchess in the kitchen, she was the Duchess of overproduction. Even a jar of jam couldn't escape the Markle marketing machine.
Park County Police Station, what's your emergency?
Yeah, the neighbors across the street are setting off fireworks and it's 10:30 at night.
Oh, is it the Prince of Canada and his wife who just want to be left alone?
Yes, they're being super loud and I'm trying to work on my brand.
But the jam wasn't just jam. It was the first crack in a carefully polished image. Because once you see the performance, you can't unsee it. And unfortunately for Meghan, the next performance would be far worse and far more disturbing. If the jam jar incident made people cringe, what came next made them furious. Just days after her relatable homemaker moment, Meghan Markle posted a video that stopped people in their tracks. It showed her smiling, filming the lights of Paris from the backseat of a limousine. Her legs were up, her phone was out, and she was glowing as she passed through the city's streets, casually glamorous, just living her best life. But one detail changed everything. She was filming inside the same tunnel where Princess Diana died. For Meghan, it was another chic moment to document. But for Prince Harry, that tunnel was something else entirely, the place where he lost his mother. The scene of the tragedy that defined his childhood, the memory he's spoken about in interviews, therapy, and memoirs as the single most traumatic moment of his life. And there she was, laughing and filming TikTok-style content in the exact spot. The internet erupted. How could she post this? One commenter wrote, "This isn't just tone deaf. It's disturbing." Others accused her of turning Diana's death into aesthetic background footage, a content opportunity, a visual prop. Even longtime supporters were shaken. This wasn't just another staged photo or awkward outfit. This was emotional carelessness, not toward the public, but toward her own husband. Harry never addressed the video. He didn't have to. The silence spoke volumes. At the very next public event, he looked miles away, standing beside Meghan on stage with a blank expression that said everything she didn't. And yet, despite the backlash, they showed up smiling, hand in hand, as if nothing had happened. But those smiles couldn't hide what was happening behind the scenes. The cracks were showing, and the public was paying attention.
Couple have been begging for privacy, and South Park has done a parody of this, and apparently it has really upset Meghan Markle.
Your millions from Netflix for no one knows what.
Put it with the rest of them.
Days after the Paris tunnel video ignited outrage, Meghan and Harry stepped onto a stage in New York City. All smiles, all glam, all eyes on them. The occasion? A black tie gala for Project Healthy Minds. The honor? Humanitarians of the Year. The internet was confused. What exactly did they do? Social media exploded with sarcastic questions. Did they just give themselves the award? One user asked. Another joked. Must have been for bravery and jam making. The timing couldn't have been worse. Meghan had just been slammed for insensitivity, and now she was being celebrated for empathy. It didn't help that the award was for their work in mental health, a topic close to Harry's heart, but made hollow by their latest PR misstep. For many, it felt less like recognition and more like reputation damage control. A performance wrapped in virtue, and Harry? He didn't look like a man being honored. He looked like a man trying to survive the night. As Meghan beamed for cameras, flashing that carefully perfected, grateful humanitarian smile, Harry stood stiff beside her. His claps looked mechanical. His face was blank. At times, he seemed to stare through the audience, as if mentally checking out. It was the kind of moment where body language says more than a press release ever could. Their hands were clasped tightly, but it didn't feel like love. It felt like strategy. A grip that said, "Don't let go." Not now, not on stage. Meghan leaned in. Harry leaned away. To the casual viewer, it was a celebration. But to those paying attention, it looked like damage control disguised as charity. And the truth? This wouldn't be the last time Meghan's image makeover collided with reality. The most awkward chapter was still ahead, and it happened in the fashion capital of the world. On paper, Meghan and Harry were winning. Awards, headlines, attention. But off camera, their fairy tale was starting to feel like a script that no longer fit. That night in New York, something was off. Anyone paying close attention could see it. Harry stood like a statue, clapping at the right moments, smiling when expected, but never quite connecting. His eyes were distant, his posture stiff. Meanwhile, Meghan kept turning toward him, offering adoring glances, waiting for eye contact that never came. It was like watching two actors in different scenes. Gone was the warm, playful couple who once broke royal tradition with public displays of affection. In their place stood a duo holding hands with the tension of a hostage negotiation. Their fingers were intertwined. Yes, but their energy said something else entirely. One body language expert described it as rehearsed affection. Another called it emotional disconnect disguised as unity. And the internet? It noticed. Comments poured in. Why does he look like he's buffering? She's smiling for the cameras. He's screaming with his eyes. They look like they're playing a couple in a commercial. It was a moment that couldn't be photoshopped. No matter how perfect the lighting or tailored the tux, the vibe was off. The body might have been on stage, but Harry's mind was miles away, and Meghan couldn't pull him back. This wasn't royal drama. It was relationship drama unfolding in real time, on a stage built for applause but echoing with awkwardness. And just when people thought it couldn't get more uncomfortable, Meghan flew to Paris and delivered the fashion equivalent of a public faceplant. Paris Fashion Week is the holy ground of style, where the bold become icons and the awkward get exposed. And when Meghan Markle arrived in the City of Lights, she clearly came to impress. But the result? A fashion moment that looked more like a parody than a power move. Dressed head to toe in stark white, Meghan strutted into the venue with the confidence of someone certain she was about to go viral. And she did, just not for the reasons she hoped. Critics called the outfit elegant but confusing. Others were less kind. She looks like she wrapped herself in hotel bed sheets. One fashion blogger posted, "The massive shoulder pads, the awkwardly long sleeves, and those impossibly pointy shoes didn't help. It was high fashion trying too hard, and people saw it." But the real cringe came not from the clothes, but the behavior. As the crowd of stoic editors and stone-faced fashion elites sat quietly, Meghan suddenly burst into loud laughter. Alone, no one else was laughing. Not the designers, not the models, not even her own team. Just Meghan, giggling at nothing, in a room full of whispers and side eyes. It was the kind of moment you secondhand cringe through, the kind that screams, "Please notice me." Online reactions were merciless. "Why is she acting like she's in a rom-com?" one user asked. Another wrote, "She's trying so hard to be that cool girl, but it's just awkward." What was meant to be chic ended up looking desperate. Meghan didn't just walk into Paris Fashion Week, she stumbled straight into meme territory. And just when people thought she couldn't make a worse brand decision, she stood proudly in front of a logo that most celebrities were actively running from. Of all the questionable moves Meghan Markle has made in the name of fashion, this one sparked a level of disbelief even her critics didn't see coming. While most celebrities were carefully distancing themselves from Balenciaga, the luxury brand rocked by a disturbing scandal. Involving children and controversial imagery, Meghan did the exact opposite. She posed proudly in front of the Balenciaga logo like nothing had ever happened. No hesitation, no explanation, just a bright smile and full support. As if the brand's reputation hadn't gone up in flames just months earlier, even Kim Kardashian, the queen of staying on brand at all costs, issued a public statement and stepped away from the fashion house temporarily. But Meghan? She leaned in, fully dressed and fully unbothered. The internet didn't miss it. "How are you preaching about protecting children's mental health while posing with them?" one comment asked. Others accused her of having zero awareness. Or worse, of being so obsessed with fashion relevance that morality no longer mattered. When questioned, Meghan's camp reportedly brushed it off with a classic rebranding line. "It's a new era, new creative director, fresh start." But critics weren't buying it. "This isn't about a new stylist," one headline read. "It's about choosing symbolism over substance." And that's what stuck. For a woman who claims to fight for justice, healing, and dignity, her actions once again told a different story. One that looked more like curated convenience than courageous conviction. With every staged photo, Meghan's contradictions were getting harder to ignore. She wasn't just losing public sympathy, she was turning her own image into a contradiction people couldn't unsee. And it wasn't over yet, because her most consistent controversy wasn't a brand, it was herself. By now, a pattern was forming, one that even Meghan's fans could no longer ignore. Every public stumble was followed by a reinvention, a jam jar after criticism, a humanitarian award after controversy, a Paris fashion moment after emotional distance with Harry. It was like clockwork. Criticism sparked content, backlash triggered branding, and every reinvention had the same formula: a powerful new title, a photo shoot-ready moment, and a public message of resilience. They just don't understand me. But people were starting to. Meghan wasn't just navigating fame. She was feeding off it, one carefully packaged persona at a time. One week she was the serene homemaker, the next the wounded activist, then suddenly a misunderstood fashion icon. And then back to victim. It was exhausting. Not just for her audience, but for Harry too. He had once been the cheeky, down-to-earth prince the world rooted for. Now, he looked more like a background extra in Meghan's non-stop media tour, fading slowly into silence while she danced from gala stages to glossy magazine spreads, always at center frame. For someone who claimed to be bullied by the press, she had mastered the art of staying in the headlines. For someone who said she hated being misunderstood, she seemed determined to keep telling her side of the story, over and over again. And for someone who once said she wanted to disappear from the spotlight, she never missed a chance to step back in. It didn't matter if it was homemade jam or global tragedy. If there was a camera, Meghan knew where to stand. And that's exactly why South Park came for her, because this wasn't just public fatigue, it had become full-on parody. When South Park decided to take aim at Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, it wasn't just another celebrity roast, it was cultural therapy. Titled The Worldwide Privacy Tour, the episode didn't pull punches. It portrayed the couple as fame-chasing hypocrites, demanding privacy while banging drums, firing fireworks, and shouting for attention on every continent. It was absurd, exaggerated, and yet it felt disturbingly accurate. Cartman, Kyle, and Stan didn't just make fun of Meghan's branding, they exposed the entire act. A jam business made from empathy, awards that meant nothing, media appearances packaged as activism. Every contradiction laid bare. Meghan's character in the episode was shown carrying signs that read, "Stop looking at me," while literally begging to be seen. It was so on the nose, even fans had to laugh, or cringe, because South Park did what no PR team could counter. It held up a mirror, and in that mirror, the public saw what they'd been sensing for years, that behind the carefully curated image, something didn't add up. That the speeches, the charity, the branding felt more like marketing than meaning. Even Harry didn't escape the satire. In the episode, he was portrayed as a blank, spineless tag-along, confused, disconnected, and painfully out of place. Just like he looked on that New York stage, the power of South Park wasn't in its vulgarity, it was in its precision. It distilled Meghan's entire public arc into 20 minutes of brutal clarity. No filters, no edits. Just raw animated truth, and what made it sting even more, it wasn't fictional anymore. It was exactly what people had been thinking, just finally said out loud. Meghan Markle didn't lose the public. She wore them out. At first, people listened. They empathized. They rooted for her. A woman breaking from tradition, standing up for herself, carving her own path. But then, the story didn't evolve. It just got louder, more curated, more staged, more confusing. Every time criticism surfaced, she pivoted, not with humility, but with headlines. A jam jar, a gala, a speech, a dress, a new victim arc. The narrative looped on itself like a reality show with no ending. Only this time, the audience started to look away, not because they hate her, but because they don't believe her anymore. The public can sense authenticity, and they can spot performance. Meghan's biggest problem isn't the press, the palace, or the trolls. It's that her every move feels like content. Every tear, every award, every candid photo is another chapter in a script that's lost its impact. And Harry, he's fading. Once beloved, now barely present. A man who traded legacy for limelight and seems unsure whether it was worth it. Meanwhile, Meghan continues her quest for relevance, for spotlight, for something that feels like control. She says she wants peace, but thrives in chaos. She says she wants privacy, but walks the runway of global attention with arms wide open. And that's why South Park's joke landed like a hammer. She doesn't need therapy. Kyle says, she needs an off switch. And Cartman, he doesn't miss a beat. Nah, dude. She'd just sell the off switch on her website for $190 and call it a healing device. Because in the end, this was never about privacy. It was always about attention. And Meghan Markle will do whatever it takes to keep getting it.